Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I am Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India and the EU conclude negotiations on the historic free trade agreement, the deal termed as mother of all deals, to represent a quarter of the world's economy. Prime Minister Modi lays emphasis on de-risking each other's dependencies for global good before the India-EU Business Forum in New Delhi. And US President Donald Trump to raise tariffs on certain South Korean goods from 15 to 25% for failing to honor the trade agreement with the United States. India and the European Union today concluded negotiations for a historic, ambitious and commercially significant free trade agreement at the 16th India-EU Summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and President of the European Council Antonio Costa, reviewed the full spectrum of India-EU ties and discussed ways to further accelerate the deepening of India-EU partnership. The discussions focused on trade and economic cooperation, clean energy and climate action, digital and emerging technologies, including AI, connectivity and infrastructure, supply chain resilience, mobility and skills, research and innovation, and enhanced cooperation in security and global affairs. Both sides concluded the negotiations for the landmark India-EU FTA adopted towards 2030 India-EU Joint Comprehensive Strategic Agenda. The two sides also signed an MOU on comprehensive framework on cooperation on mobility. Further, the two sides concluded security and defense partnership. These important outcomes, along with others, will provide a framework for the partnership for the next 5 years and beyond, strengthen national security, boost trade and investment, create jobs, enhance manufacturing and services, smoothen the movement, especially for students, workers and researchers. The leaders reiterated that the India-EU partnership is forged in mutual objectives of peace and prosperity for our people and for global good. While addressing a joint press conference in New Delhi with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and President of the European Council Antonio Costa, Prime Minister Modi underlined that the agreement, biggest in India's history, reflects growing trust, shared values and a common commitment to peace, stability and cooperation in an increasingly uncertain global environment.
आज भारत ने अपने इतिहास का अब तक का सबसे बड़ा फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट संपन्न किया है। यह एक ऐतिहासिक समझौता हमारे किसानों, हमारे छोटे उद्योगों, इसके यूरोपियन मार्केट तक पहुंच आसान बनाएगा, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में नए अवसर पैदा करेगा और हमारे सर्विसेज सेक्टर के बीच सहयोग को और प्रबल करेगा। यह एफटीए भारत और यूरोपियन यूनियन के बीच इन्वेस्टमेंट को बूस्ट करेगा, नई इनोवेशन पार्टनरशिप बनाएगा और वैश्विक स्तर पर सप्लाई चेन को मजबूत करेगा। यानी यह सिर्फ ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट नहीं है, यह साझा समृद्धि का नया ब्लूप्रिंट है।
Prime Minister Modi stressed that India's cooperation with the European Union could help bring stability to a global order facing turmoil.
आज ग्लोबल ऑर्डर में बड़ी उथल-पुथल है। ऐसे में भारत और यूरोपियन यूनियन की साझेदारी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सिस्टम में स्थिरता को मजबूती देगी। इस संदर्भ में आज हमने यूक्रेन, पश्चिमी एशिया, इंडो पैसिफिक सहित कई वैश्विक मुद्दों पर विस्तार से चर्चा की।
In her address, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen described the free trade agreement as the mother of all deals.
We did it. We delivered the mother of all deals. We are creating a market of 2 billion people, and this is the tale of two giants, the world's second and fourth largest economies, two giants who choose partnership in a true win-win fashion. A strong message that cooperation is the best answer to global challenges. This trade will integrate further our supply chain and strengthen our joint manufacturing power. It will cut up to 4 billion euros in annual tariffs for exporters of all sizes. And it will create good jobs for millions of workers here in India and in Europe.
At the press conference, European Council President Antonio Costa said that the two largest economies, India and the EU, are taking their partnership to a new level. He also called India as the world's fastest growing major economy.
Today, we are taking our partnership to the next level. As the two largest democracies in the world, we are working hand in hand to deliver concrete benefits for our citizens and to shape a resilient global order that underpins peace and stability, economic growth, and sustainable development. I would like to share three messages. First, the European Union and India must work together towards our shared prosperity and security. India is the world's fastest growing major economy. Trade has flowed between our two continents for centuries. And trade is crucial geopolitical stabilizer and the fundamental source of economic growth. Trade agreements reinforce rules-based economic order and promote shared prosperity.
The European Council President further expressed gratitude to Prime Minister Modi for his invitation at the Republic Day celebrations held on Monday. Antonio Costa added that India and European Union are opening a new chapter in their ties.
Thank you, dear Prime Minister Modi, for welcoming us on this special occasion. We were privileged yesterday to be your chief guests for the Republic Day celebrations. Such an impressive display of India's capabilities and diversity. Today is a historic moment. We are opening a new chapter in our relations on trade, on security, on people-to-people ties. I'm the President of the European Council, but I'm also an overseas Indian citizen.
So on the sidelines of the India-EU summit in New Delhi, the EU leaders also attended the India-EU Business Forum organized in New Delhi. Prime Minister Modi, along with President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen and other dignitaries, gathered for a group photo for India-EU Business Forum. India and the European Union are strategic partners since 2004. Bilateral ties have expanded and deepened across a wide range of areas. So at a special press briefing in New Delhi on the state visit of President of EU Council and President of the EU Commission to India, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said that it is India's 8th free trade agreement under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, adding that India-EU FTA opens up a plethora of opportunities for investments on both sides.
We are also very pleased to have concluded negotiations on, as Ms. von der Leyen herself has articulated, the mother of all deals, a free trade agreement which covers 25% of global trade. It is our 8th free trade agreement under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, each and every one of them with developed nations, and collectively 37 developed nations and India have entered into free trade agreements in a short span of 4 years under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said both India and the EU have very high stakes on all critical global challenges, including over dependence and concentration of global manufacturing and supply chains.
In our fast-changing world, the strategic partnership between India and the EU has a value beyond the bilateral context, particularly as we witness shifts in the global economic, technological, and strategic landscape. As the world's second and fourth largest markets, India and the EU also have very high stakes on all critical global challenges of the day, including overdependence and concentration of global manufacturing and supply chains on a limited set of geographies, an ineffective multilateral system, emerging multipolarity, and growing protectionist tendencies in different parts of the world.
So the highlight of the talks today between India and the European Union is the historic free trade agreement. Business leaders from India and the EU have hailed the vision and the potential of this deal.
I think it's an excellent agreement that we were all waiting for in the industry. Opens up not just European markets for us, though in the electronic sector, a lot of our components and systems are already at zero duty because of WTO and ITA 1. But what this also does is opens up avenues of investment, of technology transfer. And I think both the European and Indian economy, in my opinion, are very, very complementary. So what we need, Europe is able to supply to us, whether that's technology, investment, advanced manufacturing. And what we can provide, what we are good at, in my opinion, becoming a reliable, trusted supply chain for the world is something that we are looking forward to playing our part.
So I think this is creating access to two large markets, India and EU. I think this can significantly improve the time to market for both countries. We can create more access to our medicines and make them more affordable. I think healthcare is a growing concern in every developed market. Beyond that, obviously, we can see opportunities to bring technology both from Europe into India and also bring better manufacturing and faster manufacturing from India to the rest of the European countries.
Big democracies with a strategic partnership, and for 20 years we were talking about the opportunities of a fair, balanced free trade agreement for both sides. So I'm very happy that today we reached the conclusion of the negotiations.
It's an epic moment for both the blocs. I mean, I think with the state-of-art technology from the European countries, meeting the 1.4 billion strong, young, aspirant Indian workforce. So I think it's a great complementary combination which is happening. I think it will be, in my view, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the new supply chains are going to get developed over time, and I think both the blocs will benefit a lot.
In a time of high geopolitical uncertainty, a challenge on the rules-based trade, we needed good news. And this free trade agreement is good news and opening up huge and new opportunities both for India and for Europe.
We are very, very early in the process. And also certain things in an agreement is not implemented tomorrow. No, it takes a certain time also to implement them. But of course it's positive. It's what we need today.
You're watching DD India Live, still to come on the show. North Korea fires ballistic missile towards Sea of Japan, says Tokyo. So this comes as Washington and Seoul hold talks on transforming their defense posture.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does, and says supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has said that Operation Sindoor demonstrated how indigenous defence systems are strengthening India's operational readiness, underlining the growing self-reliance of the country's defence sector. Addressing DRDO's best-performing scientists and technical personnel who were invited as special guests at the 77th Republic Day Parade, the Defence Minister lauded the Defence Research and Development Organisation DRDO for the effective use of its technologies on the battlefield during Operation Sindoor.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर ने यह पूरी तरह से स्पष्ट कर दिया कि हमारे स्वदेशी सिस्टम्स भारत की ऑपरेशनल रेडीनेस को मजबूत कर रहे हैं और यह सब डीआरडीओ के साइंटिस्ट, इंजीनियर्स और टेक्निकल टीम्स की कलेक्टिव एफर्ट का ही यह परिणाम है.
Defence Minister also said that DRDO has become the backbone of India's defence capability, from missile to radar systems to electronic warfare and light combat aircraft. He added that under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, self-reliance has become a national mindset.
DRDO भारत की डिफेंस कैपेबिलिटी का पूरी तरह से बैकबोन बन चुका है. चाहे मिसाइल्स टेक्नोलॉजी हो, चाहे राडार सिस्टम हो, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वारफेयर हो या लाइट कॉम्बैट एयरक्राफ्ट. डीआरडीओ ने भारत के इक्विपमेंट के साथ साथ सेल्फ रिलायंस का एक आत्मविश्वास भी दिया है. आज भारत एक अलग दौर में खड़ा है. आज हमारी सोच बदली है, पहले की अपेक्षा हमारा आत्मविश्वास बढ़ा है और हमारी दिशा क्या है, हमारा डायरेक्शन क्या है, वह भी क्लियर है. और हमारे प्रधानमंत्री के नेतृत्व में आत्मनिर्भरता आज एक नेशनल माइंडसेट बन चुकी है.
On to some international news, more from Asia. South Korean government convened emergency talks following President Trump's announcement of tariff hikes from 15% to 25% on key exports, including automobiles, lumber and pharmaceuticals. Seoul pledged calm engagement with Washington while lawmakers moved to expedite investment legislation. Demonstrations erupted in Seoul as the auto industry, representing 27% of US exports, faces heightened risk. Tokyo's defense ministry said that North Korea fired what appeared to be a ballistic missile towards the Sea of Japan on Tuesday. South Korea's Joint Chief of Staff also said it had detected a projectile being fired towards what Seoul calls the East Sea. Japan's Coast Guard, citing the defense ministry, said it had detected 2 ballistic missiles and that both were estimated to have already splashed down. The test is Pyongyang's second of the month, following a salvo of missiles fired hours before South Korea's leader headed to China for a summit. North Korea has stepped up missile testing significantly in recent years. Pyongyang is also set to hold a landmark congress of its ruling party in the coming weeks, its first in 5 years. Meanwhile, Japanese Prime Minister Sane Takaichi said that the alliance between Tokyo and Washington would collapse if Japan failed to act in the event of an attack on the US military during a conflict in Taiwan. Detailing the Japanese response to a hypothetical Taiwanese crisis, Takaichi appeared to dial back on her remarks in November that suggested that Tokyo could intervene militarily during a potential attack on the island. On to the United States now. President Donald Trump sent his border czar, Tom Homan, to Minnesota in a bid to ease tensions over the killing of a second person by immigration agents. Trump said that border official Tom Homan will answer directly to him, a shift that suggests the administration is responding to political backlash. Most Americans oppose the aggressive immigration and customs enforcement tactics. Trump also spoke to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey on the issue. Following the call with Trump, Frey said that some federal agents will begin leaving Minneapolis on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Gregory Bavino has been removed from his role as the commander-at-large for the U.S. Border Patrol. He will return to his former job in California, where he is expected to retire soon. Moving on to Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Russian drones and missile strikes hit Ukraine's second-largest city, Kharkiv. It knocked out power to 80% of the city and surrounding region. Firefighters were seen battling the blaze at a burning building and repair efforts were seen underway. While on Monday, a Ukrainian drone attack killed a resident of Russia's border region of Belgorod. Chief of Russia's General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, inspected the West group of the Russian forces fighting in Ukraine. On Tuesday, Gerasimov said that Russian forces captured 17 settlements and took control of more than 500 square kilometers of territory in Ukraine so far in January. Earlier on Monday, the Kremlin said that the territorial issue remains of fundamental importance to Russia in peace talks with the United States and Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, meanwhile, called on allies not to weaken their pressure on Moscow as the talks between Ukrainian and Russian negotiators are expected to resume on Sunday. Spain's left-wing government will approve a decree on Tuesday to regularize around 500,000 undocumented migrants. The measure will allow beneficiaries to work in any sector across the country and applies to migrants who have lived in Spain for at least 5 months and applied for international protection before December 31st last year, including their children. Applications will be open from April to June. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said that the move will help address labor shortages and an aging population, setting Spain apart from tougher migration policies elsewhere in Europe. 23 Indian fishermen were released from Bagarhat district jail of Bangladesh on Tuesday following a court order clearing their way for their repatriation to India. The fishermen were handed over to the Bangladesh Coast Guard in the presence of officials from the Indian High Commission, the Ministries of Home Affairs and Foreign Affairs, police and district administration representatives said. After the handover, Coast Guard personnel escorted them to the Mongla port under security. They are scheduled to be handed over to the Indian Coast Guard at the midpoint of the Bangladesh-India maritime boundary on Thursday. And let's give you some sporting action now. World number 1 Carlos Alcaraz swept into his maiden Australian Open semi-final and set up a clash with Alexander Zverev. The 22-year-old brushed aside home hope Alex de Minaur 7-5, 6-2, 6-1 and he is yet to drop a set. The Australian Open is the only Grand Slam that Alcaraz has not won so far. Should he beat Zverev and then win Sunday's final, he would surpass compatriot and legend Rafael Nadal as the youngest man to win all 4 majors. Nadal was 24 when he achieved the feat. And that is all in this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates at your fingertips. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.